The sky was darker than usual as the sound of alarms echoed through Earth's military bases. It wasn't the usual warning of a meteor shower or an incoming storm. This was something far worse. The Galactic Council, a powerful alliance of alien species, had made a terrifying announcement. The message, sent through a powerful intergalactic transmission, arrived with a warning that could not be ignored. It was clear, cold, and unyielding. Earth must pay tribute or face total destruction. As the message played, Commander Bonner, standing in front of a massive digital map of Earth's defenses, could feel his stomach churn. The words "total destruction" rang in his ears like a drumbeat. The Galactic Council wasn't just a handful of alien diplomats. They controlled an army of highly advanced, AI-driven warships capable of wiping entire civilizations from existence. Earth, with all its technological advancements, was nothing compared to the might of these alien forces. Humanity had always been an underdog in the galactic community, but now the threat was personal, and it was real. In the command center, Bonner's eyes scanned the faces of his fellow officers. The tension was palpable. Everyone was waiting for a plan, anything to stop what was coming. But there was no easy solution. The Council's fleet had already begun moving toward Earth, their cloaking devices making their ships nearly invisible to Earth's radar. By the time humanity knew they were coming, it would already be too late. "I don't understand," said one of the younger officers, her voice trembling slightly. "Why would they want tribute? What could we possibly offer them?" Bonner didn't answer right away. He knew the answer. The Council wasn't interested in Earth's resources or wealth. No, this was about something much more sinister. The Council had seen humanity's potential, a potential that had begun to outgrow the restrictions placed on them. Earth's people were growing smarter, evolving quicker than even the most advanced species had predicted. They were a threat, a species on the verge of discovering technologies that could rival or surpass anything the Galactic Council had in its arsenal. This tribute wasn't a payment. It was a test, a chance for humanity to submit. But Bonner refused to believe Earth would bend so easily. He couldn't. The transmission continued, speaking of destruction, of a great battle, of humanity's end. "The time for your decision is now," the voice boomed from the speakers. "We will not wait longer. Your fate is sealed, unless you surrender." Bonner's mind raced. The thought of surrender was unthinkable. His soldiers, the families back home, everyone who depended on them. He couldn't let it end this way. But how could Earth fight back against something so far beyond its reach? "Prepare the warships," Bonner said, his voice steady. The room was silent, every officer unsure if he was making the right choice. War was inevitable, but could they win? Could humans, with their inferior technology, stand up to the advanced AI-controlled fleets that were closing in on Earth? "We're outclassed," said another officer. "Their ships." "I know," Bonner interrupted, "but we have something they don't. We have the will to fight. We'll find a way to win." In that moment, a strange feeling settled over Bonner. It wasn't fear, not exactly. It was something more primal. It was the same feeling that surged through humanity whenever they were faced with extinction. The instinct to survive and to fight. Outside, the sky flickered with strange lights. The first cloaked ships had dropped out of their invisibility fields, and Earth's military was powerless to stop them. One by one, the ships began their descent, silently breaking through the atmosphere, their weapons primed and ready to strike. Bonner couldn't afford to wait for the aliens to make their first move. The very survival of Earth depended on his ability to respond. The room's screens displayed the alien ships now, visible to everyone for the first time. Their designs were like nothing humanity had ever seen, sleek, terrifying, and monstrous, their forms shifting in ways that defied natural law. AI-controlled, each ship was a living weapon, capable of adapting and responding faster than any human mind could comprehend. "Activate Earth's defenses," Bonner ordered. "Everything we have now." But it was too late. The alien ships, now fully visible, unleashed a barrage of fire that sent shockwaves through Earth's atmosphere. Cities burned, and the ground shook. It was an attack that left Earth gasping for air, a planet caught off guard, scrambling to survive. As the transmission ended and the gravity of the situation fully sank in, Bonner knew the hard truth. Earth was under attack. There was no way to negotiate. There was no escape. Humanity had one choice now: to fight or die. And Bonner, as he looked out the window of the command center, saw the first alien warship hover over the city, its sleek black hull casting a shadow over the streets below. He knew the battle had just begun. There was no turning back now. The days that followed the first alien assault were filled with confusion, panic, and a sense of hopelessness. Earth's military was reeling from the attack, trying to regroup and assess what little could be done in the face of overwhelming power. People had watched in disbelief as cities were destroyed, as alien ships dropped from the sky with their deadly, impossible speed, their cloaking technology leaving Earth's best defenses unable to track or stop them. It was a hard truth. Earth was defenseless, and their enemy was practically invincible. But Commander Bonner, despite the chaos, refused to give in. He had seen the devastation, watched as humanity trembled under the weight of the Galactic Council's ultimatum. But deep down, he knew one thing for certain: humans had something the aliens didn't. They had ingenuity, and they had heart. In the face of a hopeless situation that could still make all the difference, Bonner gathered a group of top scientists, engineers, and military leaders in a secret underground bunker. The room was dark and cold, filled with the hum of machines and the murmur of urgent conversations. Bonner knew that Earth's last hope lay not in its current weapons, but in something far more radical, a weapon the aliens could never have predicted, a fleet of warships unlike anything humanity had ever seen before. "These ships," one of the engineers said, pointing at a holographic display, "they're built to adapt. We'll use the very tactics the aliens rely on: biomechanical features, weapons that can evolve in real time to match their enemies. Think of it like a living organism. It eats, it grows, it learns." Bonner stood still, staring at the designs. The ships were sleek and terrifying, designed to consume anything they came into contact with: alien ships, technology, and even the energy from the battlefields they fought in. The concept was simple. These ships would evolve during combat, repairing themselves, adapting to whatever the enemy threw at them. They were not just machines, they were predators. "We have no time to waste," Bonner said, his voice cutting through the room. "We need these ships operational, and we need them fast. The aliens will be back, and next time, they won't be holding back." Despite the weight of the task, there was a spark of hope in the room. For the first time since the alien ships arrived, people felt like there was a chance, however slim it might be. The human spirit was something the aliens never seemed to understand, and Bonner had made it his mission to prove them wrong. As the days passed, teams worked around the clock. The warships, powered by experimental AI and biotechnology, were unlike anything humans had ever created. These ships were part metal, part organic, with weapons that could evolve and grow stronger as they fed on alien technology. The crew didn't need to do everything manually. The ship's AI, designed to think and adapt, would direct them in battle. It was a revolutionary concept, but would it work? Would these living warships be enough to turn the tide of war? Bonner visited the shipyards every day, watching as the ships were assembled piece by piece. The workers were exhausted, but there was an air of determination in the room that Bonner couldn't ignore. There was something in the way humans came together when they had no other choice, something in the shared pain of loss and the instinct to survive that fueled them. The day finally came when the warships were ready for their first test. The crew was nervous, unsure if the ships were truly ready for battle. But Bonner gave them a quiet, steady smile. "We don't have the luxury of waiting for perfection. We have to move now." The battle began not with a loud, catastrophic explosion, but with the sound of the warships lifting off from Earth's surface. Their sleek, carnivorous bodies cutting through the atmosphere like predators hunting their prey. As they broke into space, the sight of the alien fleet loomed ahead, vast, intimidating, and nearly unbeatable. But Bonner knew something the aliens didn't. The human warships had a secret weapon. They were unpredictable. The alien ships had been designed with precision and cold logic, but the human warships were chaotic and hungry. As the battle started, the alien ship's sophisticated AI was thrown into disarray. The human warships attacked with calculated randomness, turning the tables in ways the aliens couldn't anticipate. The warship's ability to evolve mid-battle gave them the edge they needed. They adapted to the alien fleet's tactics, learning from every hit, every counterattack. The aliens, used to being in complete control, began to falter. Their ships, no longer able to predict the next move, were starting to be overwhelmed. Bonner watched from the bridge of his own warship as one by one the alien ships fell. It wasn't perfect, but it was working. Each human ship fed off the remnants of destroyed alien vessels, growing stronger, more dangerous with every passing moment. The Carnivorous Warships, once thought to be Earth's last desperate gamble, were proving to be humanity's greatest strength. In the midst of the chaos, Bonner couldn't help but feel a rush of pride. He'd seen his people fight, seen their resilience, and their ability to face impossible odds. But now, with the battle raging in the vacuum of space, he realized something more important. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a statement. Humanity wasn't going to roll over and accept defeat. They would fight, and they would win. The first real test came faster than Bonner had expected. After days of preparation, Earth's newly developed warships were finally ready to face the alien fleet in open space. The battle was inevitable. The Galactic Council's ships were already moving towards Earth, ready to strike again. This time, Earth wasn't going to back down. Bonner stood in the command center, his fingers tight on the railing as he gazed at the massive display of space. The stars were spread out before him, the battlefield that would determine humanity's fate. The alien fleet was still cloaked, but Bonner knew they were out there, lurking, waiting for the moment to strike. The tension was so thick it felt as if the entire room was holding its breath, waiting for the first explosion, the first sign of what was to come. "Commander, all ships are ready," a voice called out from behind him. It was one of the technicians, his voice barely audible over the soft hum of the ship's engines. Bonner nodded, his gaze never leaving the screen. He could see the shapes of the human warships, still sleek and new, orbiting Earth like predators preparing to hunt. Their eye-controlled systems were finally online, and their biotechnological enhancements had been fully integrated. "Activate the cloaking system," Bonner ordered. "We need to get close before they detect us." The room fell silent, everyone waiting as the human warships began to fade from view, cloaking themselves from the alien sensors. It was their first true test in battle, and Bonner had to trust that the technology they had developed would work. If it didn't, if the aliens detected them too soon, Earth's defenses would be useless. The seconds felt like hours as they drifted closer to the alien fleet. Bonner's mind raced, trying to anticipate what would happen when they were discovered. Would their cloaking hold? Would the alien AI be able to adapt? Or would humanity's unpredictable warships be enough to throw them off balance? Then, without warning, the alien fleet revealed itself. The human ships had only moments to prepare as the alien warships emerged from their cloaks. Bonner's breath caught in his throat as he saw them for the first time in full view, massive, imposing, and sleek. Their weapons glinted under the light of distant stars, their eye-controlled systems already whirring into action. There was no mistake. This was the true power of the Galactic Council. "Prepare for engagement," Bonner said, his voice firm despite the knot in his stomach. "Weapons systems online. Fire at will." The battle began almost immediately. The alien ships unleashed a barrage of fire, their lasers streaking through space at a speed no human ship could match. Bonner's ship shuddered as it took its first hit, and alarms blared throughout the command center. The human warships responded, firing back with everything they had. But the alien ships were faster, their AI systems anticipating every move the humans made. It felt like they were always one step ahead. "Get those shields up," Bonner barked, his voice rising over the chaos. "We can't afford to take another hit." The warship's shields flared to life, absorbing the incoming blasts. But Bonner knew it wouldn't hold forever. The human ships were powerful, but they were still untested, and the aliens had centuries of advanced technology on their side. In the chaos of the battle, Bonner's ship began to drift into enemy territory. One of the alien ships, larger than anything he'd seen before, had locked onto them, its weapons aimed directly at the hull. For a moment, Bonner's heart skipped a beat. This was it. He had no way of escaping. The ship would be torn apart, and all of humanity's hopes for survival would be crushed. But then, something unexpected happened. The human warships, built with adaptive AI, suddenly began to shift. The battle was far from over. The moment the enemy locked onto their position, the human warships changed their strategy. Their weapons adapted in real time, growing stronger as they learned from every hit. The ships fed off the remnants of the destroyed alien ships, repairing themselves with advanced nanotechnology. Bonner watched as the battle unfolded before him, his eyes wide in disbelief. The human warships were no longer just fighting. They were evolving. Each time an alien ship fired, the human warships learned from it, adjusting their shields and weapons. The chaos that followed was unlike anything Bonner had ever seen. The human fleet was unpredictable, erratic, and wild in their tactics, something the alien AI couldn't anticipate. "We're doing it," shouted one of the officers. "The AI is adapting. We're pushing them back." It was true. The tide of battle was slowly turning. The aliens, once so confident, began to lose their advantage as the human warships adapted faster than they could respond. For every alien ship that fell, the human ships grew stronger. Their weapons became more efficient, their defenses more impenetrable. But the alien fleet wasn't done yet. The largest of the alien ships, an enormous mothership, moved into position, unleashing its full power. Bonner's ship, along with the others, felt the weight of the assault. The air around them crackled with energy as the aliens retaliated with everything they had. The human fleet, though battered and scarred, wasn't backing down. Bonner's heart raced as he saw the battlefield unfold before him. The human ships had faced unimaginable odds and were still standing. In that moment, Bonner realized something crucial. This was no longer just a fight for survival. It was a fight for the future of humanity. And for the first time since the war began, Bonner believed they might actually win. The battle raged on in space, the sound of explosions and the flashing of energy blasts lighting up the black void like fireworks. Bonner stood at the helm of the command center, sweat trickling down his face as he monitored the progress of the human warships. Each of them, though scared by the relentless barrage of alien fire, was pushing forward, growing stronger with every battle. The adaptive AI that powered the human fleet had finally come into its own. What had started as a desperate gamble was now a full-scale war that humanity had no intention of losing. On the ground below, Earth itself was waking up. People who had once cowered in fear were now rising up in defiance. The attacks by the Galactic Council had not only shattered cities, but also ignited something deep within humanity. It was as if the entire planet had realized its potential, its power, its drive to survive. The attacks had brought destruction, yes, but they had also brought unity, determination, and a shared resolve to fight back. In every major city, people had come together. Families huddled in underground shelters while soldiers and scientists worked tirelessly to develop new technologies and strategies to combat the invaders. Governments and leaders, once fragmented and divided, now stood united under the banner of humanity's survival. It wasn't just the military that was fighting anymore. It was every person, every community, every nation. Earth had become a planet on the brink of awakening, realizing its true strength not just in weapons, but in the heart and spirit of its people. Bonner watched the live feeds from Earth's surface as civilians and soldiers worked side by side to fortify defenses, repair broken communication systems, and help each other rebuild. The cities that had been hit the hardest now stood as symbols of human resilience, their ruined streets bustling with activity. The alien invaders had expected to break humanity's spirit, but instead they had done the opposite. They had ignited a fire. In the command center, Bonner's mind raced. The aliens had underestimated Earth's will to survive, and now they were learning just how wrong they had been. The human fleet had grown stronger, adapting to every new challenge the alien forces threw at them. But it wasn't just the ships that were evolving. It was humanity itself. The fight had become something more than just a war of technology. It was now a battle of spirit, of heart, of hope. "Commander," said one of his officers, interrupting his thoughts, "we've just received word from Earth. The resistance has formed. People everywhere are mobilizing. Civilians, scientists, engineers. They're sending us supplies and new weapons prototypes to help us." Bonner's eyes widened. This was it, the tipping point. The people of Earth were no longer passive. They were active participants in their own survival. They were no longer waiting for someone else to save them. They were taking action, and that made all the difference. "Prepare to move out," Bonner ordered, his voice steady but filled with a new urgency. "We need to get this information to the fleet. Earth is awake now. We don't have much time." As the human warships continued their assault on the alien fleet, Bonner knew that the tides were shifting. The warships, powered by the latest advancements in biotechnology, had gained the upper hand. They were evolving with every passing minute, growing stronger as they fed on the wreckage of the alien ships. But the real power wasn't in the ships. It was in the people. The true strength of humanity wasn't just its technology, but its ability to adapt, to fight when everything seemed lost, to never give up. Above Earth, in the heavens, the alien fleet continued to struggle. The once imposing ships were now being outmaneuvered, their precision and advanced technology no longer enough to defeat the human ships. What the aliens didn't understand was that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its machines or weapons. It was in its people. Humans could think unpredictably, adapt on the fly, and most importantly, they could work together in a way that no alien race could match. As the final battle for Earth raged on in space, Bonner's thoughts returned to the soldiers who had given their lives to this cause. Bonner had lost friends, comrades, people he had worked with for years. He thought of them now, their faces flashing before his eyes. Bonner would make sure their sacrifices were not in vain. This was no longer just a battle for Earth. It was a battle for every person who had ever lived here, for every child who deserved a future free of fear and tyranny. Back on Earth, the unity that had formed in the wake of the attacks became something unstoppable. People had fought against oppression before, whether it was in the form of tyrannical leaders or invasive forces. Now that same spirit was rising again, stronger than ever. People were coming together not just to defend themselves, but to build a better future. And as the warships launched into space, powered by humanity's combined will, Earth's awakening was complete. The alien fleet, for all its might and technology, was not prepared for this. They had underestimated humanity. They had expected Earth to break, to bow down. But instead, they had awakened something far more powerful, a species that refused to give up, that refused to be crushed under the weight of impossible odds. Humanity had faced its darkest hour, and now it was rising from the ashes. Bonner smiled to himself, watching the battle unfold. For the first time since the war began, he felt a sense of hope. The aliens had underestimated the strength of humanity. Now they were going to learn just how wrong they were. The true fight was only beginning, and Earth was no longer an underdog. It was a force to be reckoned with. The battle had stretched on for what felt like an eternity. But now, as Bonner stood before the massive tactical display, he could feel that the end was near. Earth's warships, once struggling and vulnerable, had grown into a formidable force, the culmination of humanity's determination and the adaptability of their new technology. The alien fleet, which had once seemed unbeatable, was now on the defensive, its ships battered and retreating. The tide had shifted. It was time for the final push. Bonner's mind was sharp, his focus unwavering as he looked over the battlefield. The alien ships were in disarray, their once pristine formations broken and scattered. The humans had learned to exploit the smallest weakness in the enemy's technology, exploiting it at every turn. Their own warships had grown stronger, feeding off the remains of the alien vessels, each victory making them more powerful. But this would be the decisive moment. "Commander," an officer's voice broke through his thoughts. "We've just received new intel. The Galactic Council's flagship, the Eclipse, is still intact. It's the last stronghold of their forces, and it's positioned directly in the heart of their fleet. If we can destroy it, the rest of their forces will collapse." Bonner nodded without hesitation. The Eclipse was a massive vessel, unlike anything Earth had seen. It was the core of the aliens' advanced AI systems, the command center that controlled the entire fleet. If the Eclipse fell, it would send a shockwave through the alien forces, disrupting their operations and breaking their will to fight. "We go for the Eclipse," Bonner ordered. "This is it. No more holding back. We push forward and end this once and for all." The human fleet, having grown stronger with each engagement, moved into position. The warships, cloaked and ready for battle, lined up in formation. Bonner's ship was in the lead, its adaptive AI systems humming with activity as the crew prepared for the most dangerous strike of their lives. The Eclipse loomed ahead, its size dwarfing even the largest of the human warships. But Bonner wasn't afraid. He knew that the power of Earth's will was stronger than anything the aliens could throw at them. As they closed in on the Eclipse, Bonner's crew tightened their grip on their weapons. Every human aboard the warships understood what was at stake. This wasn't just a fight for survival anymore. It was a fight for their future, for the generations yet to come. They were fighting for their right to live in peace, to protect their homes, their families, their planet. They were fighting because, despite everything, they still had hope. The alien fleet, realizing the threat to their flagship, attempted to regroup and defend their last stronghold. The Eclipse unleashed a devastating barrage of energy blasts, sending shockwaves through space. But the human warships were ready. They dodged and countered, their adaptive AI systems constantly learning and evolving with each strike. The battle was fierce, but the humans had the advantage. They were unpredictable, their tactics shifting with every moment. And their warships were growing stronger with every alien ship they destroyed. Bonner's ship, leading the charge, took the brunt of the fire. It shuddered under the assault, alarms blaring, but the ship's adaptive systems quickly repaired the damage. Bonner could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. This was the final push. There was no turning back now. He had to push through, no matter the cost. "All units, focus on the Eclipse," Bonner commanded, his voice steady despite the chaos. "We can't waste time. Take it down now, or all will be lost." The human fleet surged forward, their weapons firing in synchronized bursts. The Eclipse began to break under the relentless assault. Alien ships tried to block their path, but the humans pushed forward, relentless and fierce. With each passing minute, the Eclipse grew weaker, its shields failing, its weapons misfiring. The tide of battle had turned decisively in humanity's favor. Bonner could feel the end drawing near. The alien flagship was on the verge of collapse, and the human fleet was poised to deliver the final blow. It was a moment of triumph, but Bonner couldn't shake the weight of the sacrifices that had brought them here. So many had given their lives for this moment. Bonner thought of his fallen comrades, soldiers like Lieutenant Harper, who had given everything to protect Earth, and the scientists who had worked tirelessly to create the weapons that had turned the tide of the war. Their faces flashed in his mind, their sacrifices driving him forward. With a final command, Bonner ordered the human fleet to launch everything they had at the eclipse. The energy blasts lit up the battlefield, bright and fierce, as they slammed into the flagship with devastating force. The eclipse buckled, its massive hull cracking under the assault, and then, with a deafening explosion, it disintegrated into space. The alien fleet, once so powerful, was now lost without its command center. The shockwave from the explosion rippled through space, and for a moment, everything seemed still. The remaining alien ships, leaderless and disorganized, began to scatter. Without the eclipse to direct them, they were nothing more than lost drones, easy targets for the human fleet to pick off one by one. Bonner let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. The battle was over. The final push had been successful. The human fleet had triumphed. As the last of the alien ships were destroyed, Bonner stood quietly, staring at the screen. It was hard to believe it was finally over. Earth had been on the brink of annihilation, but now it stood victorious. The people of Earth had faced their greatest fear and emerged stronger for it. The war had cost humanity dearly, but in the end, they had proven something fundamental, that no matter how advanced the enemy, no matter how dire the odds, humanity would never surrender. Earth had awakened, and now it was ready to lead the galaxy, not with fear, but with the unwavering strength of its spirit. Bonner allowed himself a moment of peace. The final push had been their victory. But the real victory was the promise that Earth, united and strong, would never again be caught unprepared. The fight for humanity's future had just begun, but today they had won. The silence that followed the explosion of the eclipse was deafening. For a moment, no one spoke. The vast expanse of space stretched out before the human fleet, once teeming with alien ships, now clear of enemies. The battle was over, and the victory was theirs. But for Bonner, the triumph was bittersweet. The cost had been high, and many had given their lives for this moment. Bonner stood alone on the bridge of his ship, his eyes fixed on the remains of the alien flagship as the debris scattered into the void. He could still feel the weight of the war pressing down on him, the faces of his fallen comrades, the soldiers, the scientists, the civilians who had all played a part in this fight. They had all made unimaginable sacrifices, and now, as the enemy fleet crumbled before them, Bonner couldn't help but think of those they had lost. The once fearsome and technologically superior Galactic Council had been defeated, and humanity had emerged victorious. But this victory wasn't just about the battle. It was about survival, resilience, and the undeniable spirit of humanity. The war had pushed every human to their limits, but it had also revealed something extraordinary. When united, when driven by a shared cause, humanity could accomplish the impossible. Back on Earth, the effects of the war had been devastating. Cities were in ruins, entire landscapes altered by the alien bombardments. Yet, as the last of the alien ships burned in the atmosphere above Earth, the planet's inhabitants began to emerge from the shadows. The devastation had brought with it a new sense of unity. Nations that had once been divided now stood together, their differences forgotten in the wake of a common enemy. The people of Earth had fought back not just with weapons, but with their hearts, their determination, and their unwavering will to survive. As Bonner gazed out at the stars, he couldn't help but think of what came next. The war was over, but the work was far from done. Earth was left to rebuild, to heal, and to grow stronger from the ashes of conflict. It was a daunting task, but Bonner had faith in humanity. If they could fight and win against an enemy that had once seemed invincible, they could rebuild anything. "Commander Bonner," a voice interrupted his thoughts. It was his communications officer. "We've received word from Earth. The United Nations has called for a global summit. Leaders from all nations are coming together to begin the process of rebuilding. They want your input, your guidance." Bonner nodded, his mind already shifting gears. The war had shown humanity's strength, but now the real challenge was before them. Rebuilding Earth, restoring what had been lost, and ensuring that such destruction never happened again. It would take time, effort, and most importantly, unity. "We'll be there," Bonner said, his voice firm. "Tell them we're ready." As the human fleet made its way back toward Earth, the people of the planet began the process of healing. Across the globe, communities gathered to mourn the losses and celebrate the victories. Memorials were held for those who had fallen, and every soldier, every civilian who had fought, was honored. There was a collective sense of pride, but also a deep sense of responsibility. They had survived, but they knew they could never forget the cost of that survival. In the days that followed, humanity's rebuilding efforts began in earnest. The damage was severe, but the spirit of the people could not be broken. New technologies developed during the war were repurposed for peace, helping to heal the land and restore the cities. Where once there had been desolation, there was now hope. The devastation of war had given birth to a new Earth, one that would rise stronger and more unified than ever before. Bonner was there every step of the way, guiding humanity through the recovery process. He wasn't just a commander anymore. He was a symbol of the new Earth, a reminder that no matter how dark the times, there was always a way forward. The people of Earth had learned something invaluable during the war, that together, they could overcome anything. The unity forged in the fires of battle would now shape the future of the planet. But it wasn't just about rebuilding Earth. It was about ensuring that the mistakes of the past were never repeated. As Bonner sat at the table during the global summit, he listened to the leaders of the world discuss the future. It was clear that the lessons of the war were not lost on them. They spoke of cooperation, of sharing resources, of building a future where humanity could thrive without fear of invasion. The days of war and conquest were over, and a new era was beginning. Bonner knew that the path ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be challenges, obstacles to overcome. But he also knew that humanity had been forged in the fires of conflict, and it was stronger for it. The war had been a test, and humanity had passed it with flying colors. They had proven that they were capable of great things, capable of facing the impossible and rising above it. As he looked out at the horizon, watching the sun rise over a world that had been forever changed, Bonner felt a sense of peace. Earth had survived. Humanity had survived. And now, they would thrive. The war had ended, but the rebirth of Earth was just beginning. Together, humanity would rise from the ashes, stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before. The future was theirs to shape, and they would never forget the lessons of the past. The fight for survival had taught them one thing above all else, that no matter the odds, no matter the enemy, humanity would always find a way to endure. And in that knowledge, Bonner found hope for the future.